All right, let's get this thing going. Hey, this is Dave. This is What's Up, Dave. This is my daily-ish weekday stream. I missed yesterday, but this is my stream where I just catch people up with what I've been up to. My buds on the internet, people who are interested in productivity and, all the weird stuff that I happen to like. Let's see. Yesterday I didn't record this because I forgot to. Yesterday was the day I had to go to my eye doctor, who's like an hour drive away. One each way is an hour. It was like an hour there for an hour and a half, and then came back. Then I had a meeting in the evening, and before that I was doing work, trying to finish up a big chunk of programming work for this Friday because I want to be done with it. And it would be great to be able to start testing this more broadly on Monday. So I've been in that headspace of just trying to stay focused and stuff, and I've been having a pretty good job of it. Well, I should probably check to make sure that I'm actually can hear video here. Although it mostly always works, it seems. Anyway, I'm just going to check to see if the stream is actually getting any sound. Yes, and it is, so I'm not going to worry about it. So, what else is going on? Yeah. Well, the cat is here. The cat is being very affectionate and stepping on everything. Not a whole lot to report about. I've been mostly just still working this week on the code stuff, and I've been finding I've been able to do this at Starbucks. Ordinarily, and the cat's changing all the video things, so if you can see the aux cam here. So usually I'm using, like, this is the Macintosh, and then this is a PC that I'm using for like network testing, and there's another Macintosh over here connected to this Mac Mini that's down underneath that that sound mixer. So I can test everything, all the systems that are talking to each other. But it turns out that I can actually get by with just a single screen if I'm doing for the kind of debugging that I'm doing right now. I don't need the whole setup, which is good because that means I can go to Starbucks where there are people working, and I don't feel like I'm just kind of like closed in by my house, because the house is a huge mess right now. I've been like really trying to maintain momentum on this somewhat tedious and difficult project. But damn it, cat! The cat is also a distraction. Ugh. Those were so. That's what's going on. Hopefully, I'll be able to get to doing some more fun things. I want to get back to doing the Patreon work, which is creating that mega pack thing. I'd made a good dent in it, making the all the downloads in one package thing. And then there's a bunch of marketing things I'd like to do for the new emergent task planners. And in fact, I need to go pick up the a batch of the new full-size notebooks that have the new design in them, because I haven't promoted that at all, and I think that might help with the sales. Sales are down about 20% this year. A lot more competitors in this space than when I started. And since I haven't been blogging regularly and keeping, just kind of keeping up to date with my productivity tool development, not a lot has, I'm experiencing like, the slow degradation of audience and awareness of what I'm doing. So that's something I need to do. Over the past 3 years I've been working on this educational software project, which has been great because we have these, these great ideas for, I'd like to take the core of what we've been doing and then kind of remix it into a different kind of product, or a different kind of, I guess it would be my game design toolkit. I think that's what it's turning into, that can talk between different web clients and things like this. So it's kind of the idea I'd like to have around it is to be able to make something that was as simple to use as my Apple II was in high school. And with if you're not familiar with old 8-bit computers, with an 8-bit computer like that, you basically would just turn on the power switch and it would be on. There's no waiting. It's just running. You might have to load a disk operating system so you could like load and save stuff on floppy disks, and that took some time, but it's always been way faster than just booting up even any PC or any Macintosh. So especially some of the Apple II optimized DOSes. So you could go bing and you go and then you'd be in the operating system. Of course, the operating system didn't do very much. It would load load and run programs basically, but didn't do anything else. But it meant that as soon as the thing came up, you could just start typing in commands and making things happen on the screen, which is not possible to do with today's environments. Although, things like HTML, JavaScript come really close. And there's things like, what's that called? CodePen, is it? Let's see if that's it. But there's always people pointing in these little places where you can just kind of type in sample code. And I bet there's like a huge community around it that I'm not aware of. Is CodePen what I'm thinking of? Every once in a while you see, this is a online community for testing and showcasing user-created HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Where's the main site? Oh, come on. CodePen. What did it end up over there? CodePen.io. Yeah, so this is kind of cool. I've actually never used it. So can I browse it? Picked pens. So there's people doing all this cool stuff. So you see the HTML over here, and there's the CSS, and there's the JavaScript, and you can see it doing neat stuff like that. So maybe what I'm trying to do, I don't need to recreate this. Maybe I just need to start using this more. But I like the idea of being able to make an application or making something that can be distributed. Whereas I don't think this is a good playground. This is very much like what the Apple II experience was like, except you can type in much more complicated code these days. There are other things you can do. There are things like shader workshops. I guess there's a lot of these. I should make a list of all this stuff. Shader. There's a shader gallery someplace. Where is it? He said no some of these. GLSL is like OpenGL shader language. Shader toy, that's what I was looking of. This is similar to CodePen, but this is oriented more toward hardware accelerated 3D programming. Looks like people are still using it too, which is good. I wasn't sure if this had become a dead thing. This is really putting stress on my computer now because I'm streaming at the same time. So for example, like this Seascape one, if it loads. Let's see if I can get to load. This might kill my GPU. So yeah, you can see that there's this water effect that's running. And that is being generated it's running at 60 frames a second at this size, which is like great. And it's implementing using this shader language, which I guess is GSLSL. What a shader is, it's a little fragment of a program that fits in the scope of a larger graphics flow. There's something called the graphics pipeline, in which you take this is like this is a computer graphics term. What it does, so instead of writing an entire program to start to finish that does graphics, what a graphics pipeline is it's a predefined set of operations in which you define the geometry of a scene, like all the points and how the lines connect to the points and how those create like surfaces, and then what color the surface is, and then you do something. This is all modeled in a 3D space, like 3D coordinate system, but to translate it from the 3D coordinate system to something you can see on a flat screen, you need to do what's called a projection, a matrix projection, which will take that, turn the 3D into a 2D view from a particular point, like what's usually called the camera in the 3D space. And then cameras have a variety of properties, like how wide angle it is, like what's the field of view, what's the distance from it, and then there's from the transformation, then you do rasterization, which is the efficient translation and filling in of color of those points represented on the screen. So, and then you do that all over again. There's a number of tricks that you can do to make it look really good. So in the past, when I started with computers, like computers couldn't do this stuff. And what we would do is we would write these complete programs that would be really slow. And then with the advent of hardware accelerated 3D, what you started to be able to do is use like what used to be really inefficient algorithms for old computers. In old computers, you used to try to calculate the 3D solution as exactly as possible because writing a pixel of the screen took way longer than calculating a value. Now that's been inverted, and what we have is a bunch of our computers like have dedicated 3D translation hardware that does all that stuff I was just talking about before, and does it fast, and it does it in parallel. It's like incredible what we can do with this stuff today. Um, and so those inefficient algorithms, what used to be called the painter's algorithm back then, now because the way that most hardware accelerated 3D graphics work. And so what a shader is like there's a well-defined pipeline. There's well-defined stages in the pipeline. There's, yeah, I can't remember exactly what the terms are now. But there's the idea of that you take your 3D model of the scene and all the objects in it, and then you transform them into the 2D space, and then you render them. And so what a shader is, it actually is like the part of it that's for specific phases. Like there's the rasterization phase, and then there's the before that there's the what's it called? It's when you're doing all the vertex manipulation, all the points in the 3D world, and so you end up just writing kind of like a plugin for the shader. But since these are like pretty low-level hardware components, you write this in a language that's very much like C. C is excellent for this type of programming of devices. So this is all C-style code. And I mean, it's been a long time since I've looked at C, but I can recognize it. And so unlike JavaScript, like C is a typed language. So you have things like mat3, which is a matrix 3. A function returns a matrix 3, accepts like a vector 3. These are structs that are predefined someplace. And there is usually one call that actually is what gets rendered. I'm not sure exactly how it works. So one of the difficult things about shader programming is just kind of knowing what the how the graphics pipeline hooks into it, and then the rest of it is like all the math. But the math is fairly well documented now. When I got started with it, it was very difficult to find anything about 3D graphics in a way that I could understand. But you can see like this is an interactive like ocean scene. All these colors are being generated on the fly, by this code, and it's running really, really, really fast. You can also change the channels here, but there's other things like this. So this is beyond what I'm able to do right now. I'd love to get into shader language stuff, but there's too many other things that I actually need to master first. Like just basic, well, how do you write an application in JavaScript type stuff. So like here's a real simple one though. This might be fun. So you can see, I guess main image is the main call. And let's see. I'm not sure what this. These might be shader conventions. Out vec3, in vec2. So what this is. Frag coordinate x, frag coordinate y. So it's raising this value to. What's iframe? This must be some sort of global variable that's coming in. And this stuff is never documented cleanly. So how I think this works is you're getting in like the this frag coordinate thing. And so it's probably happening for every pixel on the screen. And so every pixel on the screen is then, okay, yeah. So if we run this again, can I run it again? So for this fragment of this code fragment, this is like a pixel shader, I guess, gets the coordinate of every pixel on the screen, every frame. And it happens super fast, and then it runs this code on it, which calculates an out value, frag color, which gets sent back to the shader hardware. And it's sending back a vector 4, which is it's the color, and then I guess is the alpha channel. So if I change this to 0.5, it should be, maybe it will become transparent. Maybe? I don't know. Nope. So like I have no idea. Or maybe I had to rerun this. I don't know. So this is where I'm like not sure really how this works. Color is float val to iframe. Vec4, vec3 color. I wonder if I could do things like this. Divide by 2. Color divide by 4. What this might do is like, or do something weird. Wrong operand, no topos, no divide. That takes a left-hand operand if like, so vec. What I was trying to do is just divide this by 2 and divide this by 3, but apparently I can't do that. Oops. I was hoping I could just introduce something. Can I reload this? Reload. So I thought that color here, I thought I can initialize this vector 3 with stuff, but maybe I can't do that immediately. So I might need to do col2 is equal to col1 divided by 2. Maybe I need to float it. Divided by 2. Float col3 is equal to float col divided by 3. I wonder if now they'll let me do this. Col1, col2, col3. Maybe not. Nope. Divide. Wrong operand. I know operand slash exists that takes a left-hand operative type high p float, high precision float, and a right command type const int, or there's no acceptable conversion. Okay, since it's C, it probably is pretty particular. So if I might be able to convert this to a float by adding that to it. Oh, and so let's see if anything changes. Ah, so now I've introduced color into this, which was, so if I change these values, so I've assumed that this vec3 variable here is like an RGB value. So I can recompile it, and then I can refresh this. And so basically it's taking red, green, and blue. The blue is the least component. And if I can probably change this around, then I'll change the colors that are expressed. Yeah, so like it's a different additive colors. Like, so these are RGB values. So so like now I've modified my first shader, which is actually kind of exciting. Yeah, so anyway, it would be fun to get back to more coding projects, and maybe there's resources on the internet that I can look at. I think that's it for now. I just noticed down here in the screen that there's an API reference. No, that's what I really wanted to do is like, what the shader language stuff is, because like being able to code shaders would be like a nice, it might be a fun thing to do, but again, so many things that I want to do that would, I would just really like to get the architecture stuff out of the way, but first I need to get this other project closed this week. And then I can get back to doing the Patreon stuff and my own stuff and work on my website, because that's the other place where I'm feeling really kind of stuck, I guess personally, creatively, professionally, career-wise, just not being able to do any of that stuff. So I think that's it for today's What's Up, Dave? Thanks for watching. Happy Thursday. Hope you have a good one, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be able to report that I got some stuff done. So I'm going to go to Starbucks now and just kind of bury myself in that. So, see you later. Bink. Now I count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.